So welcome back. We have another podcast series, actually the last one of the local legends. We have two local legends here that I want to introduce. One of them is David McMahon, as well as Lise Meloche. If you don't know who they are, you should know who they are because they are real local legends. We have a past Olympian, which is Lise, 2 times as a biathlete. And then for Dave, that was actually how he met, which we will get an intro after. And he's also a biathlete. He's a trail runner. They actually do everything almost in endurance sports, which we'll hop into later. So starting off, I think a question that the audience might be curious to hear about is you're both high-level athletes, world champions is what you have in common. When it comes to how you guys met as athletes, do one of you want to fill us like the story of how you met each other?
You start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start. So, funny enough, we sort of met on. I knew of Lise beforehand because she was in all the magazines, all the sports magazines, and that she was sort of this bigger than life figure in Europe, in terms of the circus. So she was ranked third at the time. She was ranked third in the world. So I was following along, and it was pretty cool. Then I noticed that she actually lived in Ottawa, and we ended up actually training together sort of here in Camp Fortune. There's a training center at Camp Fortune. At that time, it was a national training center for biathlon, and we were about the same age, same education. We ended up sort of being training partners for a number of years, yep. 3 or 4 years at least, yep. Because we sort of, we shared the same sort of passion. And then we're on the national team. We ended up getting together and just training here in terms of just locally. That went on for several years until we sort of realized probably sort of be something could come of that.
Maybe we could hang out together.
Yeah, hang out a little bit more. Yeah. So that's sort of how it ended up. It sort of started out. So then it became just this passion of private and sort of public lives on the team.
I love that. So passion through sport. And it's funny because today's age, people can use Strava, right? To kind of stalk and see each other. And for you guys at the time, it was obviously through rankings and through training together, which is really neat. And so, Lise, I want to go to you. You ended up becoming an Olympian. Like that's pretty huge. Yeah. So if you could just talk us about, what was it like to go to the Olympics? And also at the time, I think, in a sport like being a biathlete, that was a pretty interesting time as well, no?
For sure. To get to the Olympics and to participate is definitely special. And it's sort of a culminating event. Being at the Olympics, everybody's finally there. And in those days, we didn't have all the multimedia and all that stuff. My goodness, if I wanted to call home, I had to ring the operator and I had to dial the phone and stuff like that. And it was just insane, like to call Canada and even take photos and stuff. It was like, you had to get everything basically processed, after you took your photos, and there wasn't much of that going on. But the Olympics, it was sort of finally, like, it would show up on TV and everything. And that was pretty cool. Like the whole world was watching. And but to get there was lots of steps, lots of perseverance. I did all kinds of different sports before I actually ended up in biathlon, and throughout my sporting career. So I played basketball, volleyball, tennis, you name it, I did it, except gymnastics. I was terrible at gymnastics. But but the Olympics, I think France was pretty cool. And but we were in smaller venues there, each one like sort of on different mountains. While in Norway, a couple of years later, it was super magical because it's like the mecca of skiing and biathlon. And there we're almost gods. It's a bit like hockey here, where, you look at the pros in the hockey. Well, there, the skiers and biathletes, they're treated like the hockey players here. It's amazing. Like when I'm coming in to shoot, 10,000 people in the stadiums, 10 people wide lined up on the sides cheering your name because they all have your the program, and then they're just cheering away like
There's 250,000 spectators at the Olympics on the cross-country ski venue. It was
And
like insane.
They're just insane, like just like there's the roaring crowds, and
Especially if you miss a shot.
yeah, that
Hit a shot, 250,000 people say yay. If you miss one, everyone goes ooh.
yeah. No, it's pretty magical. And it's something like living that life. Like I lived 10 years sort of in a suitcase and traveling back and forth and going to World Cups and World Championships and all kinds of stuff like that, and spending my time going around the Alps to different countries or in the north, like Norway, Sweden, Finland, stuff like that, and Scandinavia, and going to different races and meeting people in different cultures, and it's not just doing the sport, it's the cultures, the language, the scenery, the architecture, like it's like a full experience. And so to look back at that and say, oh, I could have stayed home and just hung around and done things, I would have missed out on a lot. Yeah, it was really, really special.
Yeah, it sounds super memorable, and sounds like to you it was beyond sport, which is what you were getting at, right?
Yeah, totally.
Celebration, community, friendship, sportsmanship between other athletes, or in terms of what you witnessed, spirit, right? Lots of spirit.
Passion for sport. I felt like I was almost like an ambassador at times. Shaking the king's hand and actually gave him a kiss on the cheek.
Both sides or one side?
I only did one side. I wasn't supposed to do that, but whatever. But things like that. It was just like one of our drivers was one of the is basically the Prince of Norway. He was one of our drivers at one time. Like it was just like crazy, like or like politicians, other people, meeting Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow.
I met him at the Dachstein Glacier when I was training. His actual home was just where he came from, was just below there. And I met him, he was hiking up, and we took a picture with him.
Did he shoot with you?
No, he wasn't at the range. It was just, he was, But it's just sort of cool, like meeting people like that.
Yeah, experiences that you wouldn't have thought would have come to life, right?
No, just something different, out of the ordinary, like just meeting different people and stuff, and going to a little race, and there's 200 little kids, and they're just running around at you, I want your autograph, and it's just so cute, like just giving them that passion too, like it's just really, really neat to sort of be in the limelight. Coming home was a little depressing at times, but I found adventure in doing, like, playing in the park and going places, and then bringing our 200 friends to go play in the park too.
Right. Yeah, no, keeping that community, keeping that spirit of movement.
Yeah.
Dave, while Lise was doing that, we want to hear now about Dave, because you also become world champion in 2 sports, if I'm not incorrect.
Well, I went to world. I was world. We were both world masters cross country ski champions.
Yeah.
But I was 3rd in summer biathlon in the world, and then national team for snowshoeing, and then on biathlon, and some World Cups for skiing. But it's interesting. Well, Lise was at the Olympics, so I just missed out at the Olympics. I was 5th man on the 4-man team. Even though I was national champion at that time. But so I'm heading to Norway because Lise is there, and I didn't want to get there too early because it's going to throw her off her groove. So I'm heading there a little bit afterwards, right? So she's done her first race, I think, and then during your first race, and of course I'm flying over and I'm trying to keep track of it on news media, and I arrive in Sweden, and on our way to Norway, and I'm watching the news or the coverage on television of the race live, and Lise comes into the range, and she's in third place, and she's shooting, and then I have to catch my flight, and I don't know how she finished her shooting, and I don't know where she ended up. So until about 15 or 16 hours later, after planes, buses, trains, and eventually made my way to Norway, and then to Lillehammer, and then finally the Olympic Village, and then got a hold of her, and then it's like, and how did the race end, right? Unfortunately, I think you missed one shot. She dropped, but a couple of positions. But it's sort of that's what I was doing on while she was shooting. And then when she was there, I was with the team. I was just helping out as sort of a, I guess, coach or assistant. And then after that, we went to one of the World Championships in biathlon together and raced. And so at the same time, I mean, Lise comes from a cycling and a kayak background, and I come from like multi-sporting, everything from martial arts. I was a figure skater for many, many years. I thought I was going to the Olympics in figure skating, and I just aged out of that sport, so I ended up switching sports. Eventually, I did running. University, I was track team and things like this. So I came from a running background and shooting background. And then it wasn't until I joined the Army that they said, well, you can shoot and run, you can do biathlon. I said, yeah, but I don't ski. So I had to do a crash course in skiing, and then go away and learn how to ski in my 20s as fast as I could with people that grew up on skis. And then Lise was really good downhill skier because she used a downhill race. So Lise taught me to downhill ski really well. And then we sort of ended up doing sort of merging our both sports. So Lise started doing a lot more trail running, I doing a little bit of cycling and other stuff, and sort of ended up teaching ourselves. At the same time, you may have noticed that we switched from classic skiing to skate skiing. So at the same time, so that's threw the whole skiing world up in flames because no one knew how to do it. So there was no books, there was no videos. We were all sort of trying to teach ourselves, which was good because we're getting at the bottom level, but we were making horrible mistakes. I mean, glad there's not a lot of video of us because it's embarrassing how poorly, and it took a while, it took about a decade to really start to sort that out. Yeah. So, and then we started then trying to pass it on with videos and lessons and camps and, bringing people along here. And what we found too was when we first started, there was maybe 12, maybe a dozen really competitive cross-country skiers in Ottawa and no trail runners. Except some of the skiers. So we said, well, that's not going to do. We have no one to train with. So we started some clubs, and eventually that grew, and we started trail running clubs and ski clubs, and that grew and grew. And now there's 4,000 registered cross-country racers in Ottawa, and there's like a dozen trail running clubs. So it's like huge. I mean, We just started the first part, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and now it has an organic sort of movement to it, which is great. And the level of competition has just gone up and up and up and up. Because back in the day, there was really no trail runs or races either. We had to, start doing those. Well,
as skiers too, we'd usually roller ski in the park, and then go for a trail run to train. But we never. There was the odd trail run, but it's very, very rare. So then we started our own, and then we got in with Five Peaks and worked with them, and. But we also worked with some others too, and made our way through. And
this was 30 years ago, so it's it's exploded since then, which is fantastic.
In '79, I actually trail ran into 1979.
Were there trees back then?
Yeah, just a few.
And that was when it was more unmarked.
Well, that was sort of, there were trails in the park for skiing and stuff. Some of those trails, actually, we did classic. Like we did, they would actually track some of those trails. They would track the 17, the 8, the 9, Skyline. Oh, no, not the 9. The Skyline is 6. 6. They track those, single track. And even the 17, we'd come down, 17 and then come down the 8, Highland Fling. They track that single track, amazing. Like, and when there was snow, like it was super great. And now they're backcountry, and if you try to do like classic on skinny skis backcountry in there, like you can only do it sometimes. The snow is okay, but if they ran a skidoo through there and just lay some tracks down, it'd be like amazing. Like, you know, just to create a base, and then leave some fluff for backcountry, and then create a base so when it gets too icy. But anyway, so some of those trails we did a long time ago, and then we would run them after roller skiing. But we weren't like running to run fast. It was sort of like easy training because we'd already done roller ski intervals. So, but a lot of those trails existed already.
So cool because you know, when you think of Gatineau Park, especially nowadays, 30 years ago was when you guys started Natural Fitness Lab.
Yeah.
You haven't really changed anything except for maybe, you know, add more fun into the fitness component, right? Or new routes, or, you know, experimentation. But what's really neat is nowadays, all these clubs are for the most part very trendy, or it's very catching on. You guys were doing it at such a unique time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you were one
Yeah.
of the few. So let's hear about, you know, what inspired you guys to start a club like Natural Fitness Lab that not only was one of the first clubs in Gatineau Park, but also that is so unique because you do so much cross training of endurance sports.
Yeah.
We were always alone.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I would train,
Dave and Lise.
Dave and Lise would train alone, and then I'd grab in a couple of like my skiers. Not all the skiers ran to the same level I needed, so I try to get my triathlete buddies out, but you know, and some of the road runners, and coax them off the roads into the trails, and triathletes onto the trails. It was always a bit of an extreme sport. But we needed training partners. We're also training. It was lonely, like just to train alone. So we wanted to build that cohort. And eventually we got more and more. And this is like we're late 20s, early 30s when we were doing this. So a lot of they were our friends, right? I mean, the same folks that we have here. And then what would happen was that would grow and grow. And then they would, you know, get up, they grow up, they go off to have kids, and then they come back, and eventually their kids will come to practice when they're older, like, you know, 17, 18, and then their kids are now growing up, and now their kids they're having kids. So we've gone through like 2-3 generations now, people coming through the group. So that changes the dynamic too, because now you have, you know, 17 to 70 in the group, and then you have, you know, I think we have 16 Olympians or World Cup level world national team athletes at various sports. So we did a lot of people from other sports would come in and do training, ski training, or a lot of people from other sports would also do trail running. So all the rowers and paddlers and adventure racers and obstacle racers and cyclists and that would do that. So we ended up this multi-sporting thing. It's built really around cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and trail running, but in the group we have like national team pro cyclists and things like that. So you'll always find someone doing a different sport in it. So we then have this high performance element to it. We want to get people off the Olympics, off the World Championships, but we also have the bottom, the most of the pyramid there are people that are coming in at you know, for other reasons. They're coming in there for fitness. They're coming in for social reasons, you know, for health. And there's also people that are, just raised, recovering from injuries, getting older. So there's this community that sort of keeps on sort of going, which is nice.
Yeah, and we also, like the type of training we do, depending on the time of year and stuff like that, we try to make it, we choose the type of intervals we're going to do or the type of workouts we're going to do, depending on how most of the people want to participate in an event or race in an event. So we'll work on different energy systems and different lengths of workouts and stuff, and types of terrain. And so we're not just going for a run in the park. We actually have thoughts behind the type of workout that we're presenting on a Tuesday for training, and even on the Sunday for distance. Those are we pick the type of terrain, and we pick the speed or some of the ideas that we have that are going to benefit those people and to permit them to have the skills and the fitness to better participate in the events that they want to participate in.
Yeah. I mean, the real trick, the magic sauce here is we have five people. Like any given time max, we have 5 people that are trying to get to the Golden Trail Series World Cup trail running, including 3 national champions, former world champion. So they need to get the workout they require to get there. But majority of people are not. So the perfect workout is one that they get their workout they need to get to races. People get the workout they need to get their PBs or to get their distance or complete the event. And there's a whole other people that just want to participate, never race. Most people will not race. But they need to be in the same workout in a very inclusive manner such that they're not left behind, and that everyone enjoys themselves. So, when I have someone like, let's say a top racer says, "Oh, that was a brutal workout, I almost threw up," it's like I haven't worked so hard in my life. Telling me that at the same time, I have a group of people saying, "That was so much fun, that trail was so cool, I never been on that trail before, there's great lookouts," and they have completely different experiences, but the same sort of workout. In that case, some cases it's short intervals, team relay, some cases we have multiple different courses happening at the same time, much like you would have, but it's timed such that, the faster people and the people going at a slower speed will sort of meet up at various places together. And then afterwards socially, so that, people can socialize as a whole sort of group. So that's the dynamic that sort of, it takes a while to sort of, figure out the formula for that.
It creates a lot of, also, some of the top people tend to start to respect a lot more some of the other people that are participating and trying to improve, and they see them improving and see them, like as time goes, if they come out often enough, they actually start to migrate at a higher level within the group, and they tend to be a little bit happier, and even the top guys sometimes get injured, and then they have company with other people, and there's sort of empathy and more of a nurturing community.
Well, it's like tonight. I mean, most of the people that race on the weekend are just going to hang back tonight. So, they're not going to be pushing the pace. We had a different workout today, where we did our practice today. We're just more of a social. We do some crazy things like just going through the swamps and the rivers, and we washed off, I think, mostly. But I mean, some people went full.
I see a couple marks there.
Yeah, it was pretty much full immersion for most of us. But just different experience. We try to get.
Yeah, no, I love that about you guys, because it's the definition of quality program. When you look at like even long-term athlete development, it's exactly what a quality program is.
Yeah.
Now, maybe some of the people listening right now, they want to know, you've explained a lot about a quality program, but how do you integrate, which I think you kind of touched on it, how do you integrate fun into a quality program?
Okay, yeah, so that's really interesting. So the way we do it is, we have a long-term athlete development model. We have like long-term program, annual programs. We have like looking at, like, if you're going to get really deep, like microcycles, mesocycles, periodicity, all the different really scientific sort of things. We do all that. We may talk to some people that are interested in knowing the details of how sausages are made. We may tell them how that happens. But generally speaking, we do that, program it in. Like, for example, take a workout. Say, okay, well, this workout, we're going to do 8 times 800 meters on trail. It's going to be half on an easy trail, half on a hard trail. So it's going to be essentially, so 800 workout. A lot of scientific basis to that, how it improves like your half marathon times and things like that. Great. But way we do it would be, okay, we're going to do a 3-minute recovery in between, allow people to catch up. We're doing it in groups. So, you pick the group that you're going to go in based on your speed. So we're now thinking about how we're going to keep the people together. How are they going to everyone's going to find their own little pocket or group to do this. What the dynamic is going to be. what the distance is. Some people do 8, some people do 6, some do 4. So we do, let's say the faster people do 8, and then they're going to come around, then we're going to turn around and then pick everyone else up. We do the warm up and cool downs together. So one of us is programming exactly what the end objective is for the workout, but then also looking at the group dynamic and saying, okay, how is that going to play out? What is the social element going to happen? We tend to brainstorm that ahead of time. It's okay, how do we, like, what's the slowest, what's the fastest, how do we keep people together, how is everyone going to find people that they can run with, and then how we get everyone back together, and then at the end, so that typically what we end up doing all the time.
We have good relays too.
Yeah.
The relays really usually we ask them to pick
Fast person with a slower
try to make a team that's going to be competitive with everybody. So a slow with a fast, and then 2 mediums together, like try to make it so that it's, and then they get to know each other and everybody's cheering everybody on. So, and then you go around, you take a break, you tag off, and then you go around.
Yeah, and the positions are changing all the time.
400-meter repeat on trail with a nice flow to the trail, a bit of up, bit of down, a little
And a mud pit,
technical,
big mud pit.
Stuff like that with a kind of a tag off. You don't have to touch actually, but just like within a certain distance, like stuff like that, and that really becomes inclusive. And people that sometimes don't like to push themselves suddenly like to go a little bit harder, and then some that they just go whatever they're comfortable at going, and that's okay. The partner that runs fast and really gets a good workout.
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes it, and then those 2 people actually like end up having interactions that they never would have had, or very seldomly, and then they get to know each other a little bit.
Then there was a time that we tied people together, and sort of like they had to hold on to each other, and then we sort of bound their arms, and then they did a trail run like that. And it had mixed success on the downhills, but or bungee people together.
We
And I
find
know
different things.
you've done also theme workouts as well. You've done Halloween workouts. You've done even in Hendrick Farm. You've done a relay there.
Yeah.
So you're always making it innovative and
Trying
creative.
to, yeah.
What is the most innovative workout that you've ever created?
The most innovative workout.
Innovative.
Well, what we typically do is they have a theme to them, like they have like.
You're the one you go up with the lights, and they have.
Oh yeah. So we So they all have a theme. Like all have a theme, right? They have a name, like double whoppers and fries, which is sort of like they got 2 big hills, and in the middle they have to do push-ups. Or we have abominable, or they have the Matrix, and they all sort of have Armageddon or Cannonball Run. So they sort of fit the mode. So they have a theme already, and it sort of fits sort of the what we're doing. So for example, what we did for a hill workout was I have 2 lights. We had fall workout, and at Fortune I run up the hill, and I put a cone down with a light on, and then I go up a little bit further, and I'm running, and I put another cone down, and people have to go around the cones like this, but I keep moving the cones, so I keep leapfrogging the cones like this, and moving them down like
Very
this.
sneaky.
So the faster people are going round,
Right
and
behind them.
they may do like 3 laps around the cones, and then they get moved. Whereas the slow people may get 1 lap, and then they have to then they carry on. So everyone's to get in, or you're going up the hill, and
They
the
have
cones
to try to stay with him.
Yeah.
So as soon as he's moving with the light, you don't go back down. You just follow him up.
Yeah, so that it sort of looks like this all the way up if you look at the Strava, and it's rough because it's constant. Like it'd be like doing 200 hill repeats, and you don't know how long anyone's going to be. But if you're falling behind, you just cut. So what it means if you're a faster person, there's no relief. Like everything, all your advantage just suddenly gets zeroized.
Yeah.
And you're with everyone again. So that'd be one of the innovative.
And usually it's on like one of the ski hills, and the footing isn't that great, and it's like sometimes it's snowed a bit, or it's a little icy, or
Yeah.
there's some crazy stuff. Or we have one that we come down the ski hill too, like on the snow, like we slide down, and then we do stuff
Early
like
season,
that.
yeah.
Early season, yeah. We do
Those are
some
all
things.
crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
And this might be a very hard question for you guys to answer, but what are your top 3 places to be in Gatineau Park?
Top 3. Well, I mean, one is the escarpment. So I love the yellow box and all the exposure from some Wolf Trail, and then all the way along to almost Lac Philippe. That is probably the most beautiful place. And then in terms of like really nice trail systems, I like the 67. We call it Cannonball Run from Pink Lake and all the trails there.
Yeah.
P17, there's a lot of great trails around there.
Irish Creek in there.
Burma is great for like doing 30-30, so we'll call rockets, 30
That's
seconds
number-
on, 30
number
seconds
three.
off. Number 3. And then all the big hills. We have some ones and then there's some other ones that are a little more secretive. So there's the Ramparts, there's Space Cowboy, Space Nugget, Sputnik, Abominable. So these are all like Yellow Box, Mosquito Alley, Wall Street. So these are like just massive steep climbs. And then it's usually all little trails here. I mean, they're all sort of nice in their own right. We usually save the big wide trails to a little later when it's darker, and then when it's lighter, we're all on the single track. The one we do a lot, which is sort of Western, Wild West. So Trail 9 from Camp Fortune to Western Trail and back on Trail 9.
And we wait for a really muddy day.
Muddy days are great.
And there's like, people lose their shoes there.
Oh, there's like a shoe graveyard.
They've lost their shoes, and sometimes they pick up someone else's shoe.
It's a little bit of torture.
Yeah, there's shoes all the time. There's shoes. We hang shoes in the trees because in case no one needs one. But that's a great time trial sort of route to do. You try to get there and back in an hour. And then there's new trails opening up sort of all the time. They're just getting some of the older ones are
coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any bad. I mean, there's a couple of trails we don't go on because they're full of poison, stinging nettles and swamps. But almost all the other ones are great. You sort of plan it out for.
Well, some you can go a certain time of year, so there are no stinging nettles. But
Yeah.
You pick your time.
Yeah, I mean, we make fun of anything, right? Even penguin repeats, or on the other side, canyon repeats.
We don't do as many penguin repeats. We used to do a lot of them when we were like way back.
Yeah.
Kind of got tired of it. We wanted to be more imaginative, not spend our time there too much.
Yeah.
You're talking about suffer fun though, right?
Suffer fun,
yeah,
but with a twist.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the a multiple low foreplay Hydroline, which all the trails along here, Rockworks, 36 is great.
Community trails too.
Yeah, and then the community trails. There's some great stuff there. It's like 300 kilometers of trails, and then all the stuff at Lac Philippe as well.
Yeah.
Sort of cool.
What is the most memorable race that you've ever seen in Gatineau Park? Some of them still exist, some of them don't. I'm sure the crowd kind of wants to hear one of your most memorable races
In
here.
Gatineau Park. Well, we did a bunch, but like early days, we even did some adventure racing.
Oh, the adventure from
We did early days. We did like we started. Yeah, we started from Lac Philippe. Not Lac Philippe. We started from Les Falls.
Les Falls.
Up over Les Falls, ran Trail 10.
First person of the team over Lusk.
Yeah, over Lusk, and then they go to the caves, through the caves, then to
The end of the lake.
the end of the lake. You have to swim Lac Philippe.
You meet your partner. So number 2. There's
Yeah.
2. They got the wetsuit
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, and then you pick up a third person for a mountain bike. You mountain bike around Lac Philippe, and then up at Meech Lake, and then someone meets you with a canoe there. You put your bikes in a canoe, come across, and so that was an adventure race. It was all self.
And then on the other side, you meet your runner
Yeah.
and some help to get rid of the canoes and the bikes. And then the runner, then you run
Yeah.
all the way to
Yeah,
mountain.
back here, yeah.
Yeah.
So the other ones are like Five Peaks had a race here at Camp Fortune. Then all the ones that Ray Zahab set. So, the Midnight Moose was amazing. Like you start in
That
the
was
evening. They'd run in the evening, Gatineau Park, and there was a whole bunch of series of then the I2P runs that we did at Lac Philippe, which were really cool. They were like a rolling start, untimed, and so it was like a really low key entry event, like a 21K there, 15K. Then you have all the mech races, Shishimor races in the area. So you had a lot going on.
Right.
And now they're coming back. I think they're coming back. We have
Some are coming.
So one last final question before we go to the question period. If someone is looking to, sustain their physical activity and, be active for life, and even when there's hardships, like let's say an injury, from what I've heard from everyone that knows you, whenever you guys have gone into an injury, you've still stayed active. You've still been, strong and, adapted to your programming. So what would you recommend to someone?
I think you have to be, especially as you get older, you want to cross train all the time. So if you're a runner, you want to be cycling, you want to, do something else and swim. So one for general fitness. But then if you get injured, it's very easy to pivot to another sport. Like if you're only a runner and you get injured, and then you have to take up mountain biking from the start, you end up getting injured biking. And you're also not able to do it at the same level. So, and then what's become more and more important is, strength training and flexibility, which seems to be the greatest inhibiting factors as you get older, in terms of just staying injury free, but also performance. So having a couple other sports that you always have going at the same time, and then having the flexibility and strength going, I think is really the key.
Is there any last words that you guys want to end off in this conversation of what you want to leave, in terms of, your legacy or your passion for movement in this community of Bienvenue Park?
Yeah, I think one thing that comes to mind is just, I think we've raced, 10,000 races or something. Like it's a bit of a blur. So there's more to running than racing or competition. In fact, if we look at a week, we go maybe there's like 3 fast workouts, and in that, like we're only going fast for part of them. Majority 90% of the time is done at slow speed, and that is social. And if you want to have any sort of career or enjoyment in the sport, it's focusing on consistency and that sort of community. Because otherwise it's very lonely if you're just like by yourself training to do mileage and something. So that becomes very important, especially being in it for the long game, and also seeing other people. We're past our personal bests at this point, so it's nice to see other people achieve their personal bests and course records, and wherever those personal bests are. Consistency being. What we find is people that are coming to practice most consistently are the happiest, the most satisfied with the performance. They are able to interact socially, and also have the highest performance, in races. And so number one is just consistency, just coming.
And I'd like to encourage a lot more women to come out and to not just follow the zone 1, zone 2 type of training. For their health and their fitness and their longevity, they need to get in the weight room, do some strength, some heavier strength, not just the little exercises. And for their because of the change in the hormones and stuff, and as they age, it's all the more important to actually do some higher intensity and not just some medium type of training. It's actually a very healthy formula, as long as they build up to that higher intensity, and like what they call, like sometimes people refer to HIIT and stuff like that. But before you do HIIT, you want to have at least some base in that particular activity, whether it be running, cycling, or swimming or whatever. But then you build up, and then you actually do that intensity once, twice a week. And do a bit of weights, some heavier weights. It's really important for their bones, for their bone density, and for their health, and also just in general, just to feel a lot better. and it takes a little bit more perseverance, but once they get over that hill, they'll be able to, when they're 50, 60, 70, they'll still be in better shape and feel way healthier. Instead of having that hormonal ups and downs in their 40s and then 50s, feeling like crap and stuff like that, not being able to sleep, all those things that happen with women that some of the men might not know at all, but that will, when they're doing the intensity and having a better training format, their overall health and their sleeping habits and everything, a lot of that gets solved, and they just naturally will eat better, and because they feel healthier, and just all those healthy habits sort of get brought in, and then they discover themselves that they're much better than they could be.
I love those final words from both of you. It's been really inspiring. I moved to Chelsea earlier this year to see what you've done with these individuals, not just pushing to their limits or meeting their goals, but beyond sport, which is what we even spoke about. And so keep doing what you're doing. It's very inspiring. Thank you for coming out to give back to the community. And thanks for being here today. We have a question period. Do we have any questions from the crowd for Dave and Lise?
I'm curious. All right. I'm curious, after so many years as endurance athletes, what role nutrition has played and what you've learned about nutrition over the years and how that's contributed to your ongoing success.
So Lise has told me that everything in life can be cured with stretching and a salad, which is partly true.
Which helps a lot.
Yeah, we are. We eat mostly plant-based, but we do eat meat. I find that if one has to be careful about too restrictive diets or fads. So typically, we eat balanced. We cheat occasionally, like the ice cream I just had here. Don't get too caught up about it. Generally speaking, people will agree that water, vegetables, lean protein, fiber, electrolytes, that's all good. The alcohol, sugars, trans fats, converted fats, probably not so good. We can discuss what's in the middle. But so long as you do, you don't pound down a cheesecake and alcohol just before you go to bed every day, you can be pretty fine. With athletes, I find that if you're just reasonable about it, in terms of you don't starve yourself, you don't go through this oscillation of I hate myself, I'm dieting, yo-yo dieting, and then I'm going to purge myself, and you don't do through that. Some people have gone vegetarian, vegan. You have to be very careful about that. Some people can do it very well and perform. Some people can't. I wouldn't go the other way necessarily. It wouldn't be just like the pure protein and carbs with no vegetables. But also when you eat, like eating fairly frequently, making sure you're well hydrated. Those seem to be the biggest things. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much. Getting off the quick sugars, getting off of too much starch, and stuff that's affects the glycemic index. Try to regulate those through better fiber and stuff, and also for women, as women age, higher level of protein in their diets helps. Eating good fats, definitely. Training, no starving yourself before training. Mostly women, terrible idea. So they should at least eat a little bit. It could be just a handful of blueberries with a few almonds or something. That's really important for women because they're not men, and their systems react slightly differently. Eating after, more important for women than men. And so in women, like having some fruit after, and men can benefit from this too. Fresh fruit is always better than frozen fruit and better than dried fruit. Red fruit has way too much sugar in it, but if that's all you have, just have a little bit of it. And then also combining with some protein, like 30 grams to 40 grams, depending on the person, afterwards, within an hour. Guys can maybe go to 3 hours. In training, you may not need as much sugar as guys. Don't overlace your electrolytes and things like that with sugar. Sometimes you get gut problems more easily.
We used to in back in the day in the 90s, we used to carb load like crazy. That was a triathlon thing to do, and you be careful. It's nice to have a little bit, but if you have too much, like too big of a breakfast, then your insulin levels kick in and suddenly you just go up and then you have a big drop. So sometimes less is better. So I have like a much smaller breakfast before I do like a big run, even an ultra run. And then like, for example, like if I do a 30K race, 30K run, I will have a little bowl of cereal with some blueberries, some yogurt and cashews and granola, a little bit and a decaf coffee and some water and electrolytes, lots of keep them well hydrated. And then during the race, 30K is a 1 banana race. It's like you can sometimes overdo it, especially if you get into the gels, and the gels just end up boom.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to
with the caffeine gels.
Yeah.
The caffeine gels, if you're into the caffeine, you have it near the end of the race. Otherwise, you go do this. So you really want it at the end.
You have to experiment.
I should have been taking notes. Thank you.
Well, there's some for women. There's some good books out there, podcasts like Dr. Stacy Sims. She's very, very good. She's done a lot of. The thing is, there was very little research in the past done on women and training, and we do not have that same. We don't have the same makeup as the guys, and they've done tons and tons of testing on guys, and the guys that kind of have it figured out. The women, we're still working on it, but it's a lot of stuff has come to light, and I think there's other women out there that are some doctors that talk about hormone therapy and all these different things, but some of them have some great ideas and really, really makes a difference for women, and I think every woman here should investigate a bit more. Don't believe everything that's out there. Try to just be a little careful what you choose. Anyway, yeah.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I just want to tell you thank you guys for being here. It means a lot for the Nomades du Parc organization to have you here. You're a true ambassador of the Gatineau Park, and for sure, like for young entrepreneur like us, we look up to what you guys are doing. So thanks for being here, and it was very interesting to have you here. So thank you.
Merci bien.